going to record right now. Thank you so much. All right. Well, welcome. Thank you guys for coming. Lena is my Zoom keeper today. And because I am inept at multitasking, if you have any concerns, just chat with her and she'll interrupt me. And yeah, if you have anything that you need, ask Lena. And I really do want the spelling for I-ba because I want to know how to spell your name.
It's in the chat.
Can you spell it for me?
Sure. I-B-T-I-S-A-M. I can't imagine how it's pronounced, but I can't wait to find out.
Yeah.
Ibtisam. Ibtisam? Something like that.
Yes, you guys are really embarrassing me now, but yes, you've got it right.
Oh, I'm embarrassed because I'm just I'm dyslexic. And so all these, it's just a different sound. So I would love to hear how you would like me to pronounce it to the best of my ability. Can you tell us how it sounds to you?
Ibtisam, and I think I've explained this before. I'm of Indian origin, and this name is Arabic. So I think this is even how when I pronounce it, I don't think I do a good job either.
Gorgeous.
But when a person who really knows Arabic says it, trust me, it sounds like Rumi's poetry. It's beautiful.
Ibtisam.
Ibtisam, but as I said, it's okay.
Thank you for giving me grace. Hey, and Jean Morrison is here. Jean is my teacher of the past 10 years. So if I'm crap at this, we can blame her. I'm totally I'm teasing.
We learn from each other, Cheryl.
We do. Oh, all right. Well, I'm going to get going. And I hope you've all heard the 5 loving kindness affirmations, but I'm going to say it out loud because this is my intention. May I be at peace. May my heart remain open. May I awaken to the light of my own true nature. May I be healed. May I be a source of healing for all beings. I place my mind on the altar of my heart. All right. So in order to have some safety and connection, I'm going to make a few requests. And of course, we are all at choice here. But what I would love to pretend for the next 90 minutes is that you are coming into my living room and I'm offering you a comfortable warm chair and a cup of tea. And if we were together in the flesh, I would be seeing your face. And I would be hearing you breathing and sneezing and crying and laughing. And so if you're willing to let me see your beautiful face, that helps guide me as to, are you getting it? Are you puzzled? Are you just what's happening? So that would be lovely. And I'd love to be able to hear you. So unless there's a lot of background noise, please do feel free to stay unmuted. And I do want you to interrupt me at any time if I'm speaking too fast, if there's a question, if you need clarification, if there's something that you want to share. I want this to be interactive and not just feel like information dissemination. And I want to reassure you that today is not having what I call a courageous conversation. Today is tipping our toes in, exploring what is it that we need in order to feel safe and comfortable listening, learning, and talking about a relatively challenging subject. And so right now, what I'd love for everyone to do is write in the chat, what do you feel and or think when you hear the words childhood sexual abuse? just let it rip. In NBC, we call it a jackal show. Don't hold back. Just, you hear the word childhood sexual abuse. What do you feel in your body? I'm going to ask Lena to just read those out loud as they come through.
Feel tightness in my body, outrage, anger. I feel alarmed, upset, sickened, disgusted, anger, pain. Oh no, disgust, outrage, sadness, alienation, loss, pain, call to action, heavy-hearted, deeply sad, horrified, icky, tummy, compassion, confused and trapped.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. I've asked for this because my hope is by the end of our time together, you will feel and think and react very differently. So I want us to keep in mind where we are at the beginning, and then at the very end, I'll check in again and see if anything's changed. Oh, yeah. So we humans avoid discomfort at all costs. Most of us do. And we have to care enough about something in order to sit in the discomfort. I personally, and I am sure many of you, care enough about preventing other children from being harmed that we choose to sit in the discomfort in order to make a change. And that's what I'm asking of us today, to practice. So if at any time you feel uncomfortable, please center and ground and use all of your skills to self-soothe and come back to the present. And so I share my experience of having been harmed, because what I have noticed over my adult life in doing this is that when I open up and share my experience, others find the courage to share theirs. And my premise is that by all of us sharing and talking about the subject, we are breaking the cycle of silence and change will happen. And so I'm going to share a snippet of my story.
Childhood sexual abuse is not just words for me. It's not an intellectual concept. It has been a lifelong journey, living with a frozen body, physical pain in my jaw from keeping it clamped down and not saying anything for many, many years of my life. Stuffed feelings, fear, insecurities, nightmares. Oh gosh, I hate to admit it, but years and years of plotting revenge on my brother. So it's a very personal, and I believe every story of childhood sexual abuse matters. So I'm just going to give a little taste of what mine was and has been and is. After one of 2 episodes, I told my best friend what my brother had done to me. I was in 6th grade. She looked me in the eyes and said, "You're lying." I was known for telling big tales, big fish stories. I wanted it to be a lie. My brain in that moment went to an immeasurable feat to protect me. I repressed what I had experienced. I had no conscious memory of it from then on. I went on, though, to eat mass quantities of food and have sexual relations at a very young age with an excessive amount of men. I did drugs and alcohols to the point of valuing being stoned over all else. Being numbed out was my highest priority. My life revolved around where and how to get the next dime bag. After the birth of my daughter at 17, she was 3 months old on my 18th birthday, I became hyper vigilant. I called myself paranoid. I had no idea what was wrong with me. I could not stop myself from following my husband into the bathroom when he gave my daughter a bath or changed her diaper. Every bone and molecule of my body feared. I was in reaction. I was triggered. My body felt ill. I was just unimaginably of things I thought he might do to my daughter. It had nothing to do with him. He was an innocent party. It was all me. It was all inside of me because of what had happened to me. If my brother could harm me, if my brother could hurt me in that way, couldn't anybody hurt anybody? So the rest of my life has been seeking help, recovering from the break of trust, the hurt, and the shame of my beloved brother harming me. I experienced group therapy, meditation, weekly dream work, Jungian therapy, ropes courses, family constellation, samurai warrior games, you name it, anything that could possibly help me move beyond survival into a thriving life is what I did. And don't get me wrong, I had a beautiful, wonderful life after sobriety and living with a clear mind, unaltered in any way from any kind of mind-altering substance. And then when I discovered nonviolent communication approximately 10 years ago, I learned even more and more clearly how to feel rather than blame and judge. And I was able to get in touch with my deepest longings and learning how to meet my own needs and to learn that I am responsible for getting my needs met and coming to terms with the fact that I even have needs. Oh boy, do I have needs. Learning and making peace with the fact that I matter and it's okay for me to be what I call needy. This warrior woman who, is wears so historically has worn so much armor to defend and protect myself. Even I need connection and camaraderie and help and support and reassurance. And to really grok that these are normal, universal needs that every human being on this earth needs. It's okay for me to seek out solutions on how to get these needs met for myself. This is what my journey has been after having been harmed sexually as a child. And it was a life-altering event that steered me down the road I lived. Who could I have been if that hadn't been my path, if I had not been harmed sexually by my brother? It doesn't do me any good to look down that route, but it's, I care enough about all the other human, innocent children, souls, and beings who are coming after me to contribute to breaking my cycle of silence in order to prevent childhood sexual abuse from happening.
All right. So, as an admitter that I need reassurance, what I'd love is, again, please just put in the chat anything that feelings, thoughts, reflections, empathy, anything that's alive inside after hearing a bit about my experience of having been harmed as a child and my journey. And if anybody does feel like they want to say something out loud, I'd love to hear voices as well. Or questions.
Oh, so touching and enriching. And I feel deep appreciation for your vulnerability and willingness to share so much. It's very comforting and enriching for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Beth.
And Cheryl, I'm grateful that you're coming forward and using what happened to you to create good. I'm very touched that, and I'm very sorry that you experienced all that. I'm really sorry. And I'm grateful what you're doing with it. I also had a father who was a pedophile. So I resonate, and I'm grateful there are those of us who are doing this kind of work. So big thumbs up.
Thank you, Tara.
Noticing in the chat, Cheryl, people reporting touched and moved by your bravery and courage, resonance. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. That helps me to hear some reflection and to know how it landed with all of you. So I appreciate that. Thank you. All right. Well, over this past year, as Beth and I have co-collaborated and created what we're calling Brave Voices. And we are calling it a movement, and it is now a nonprofit. And the whole purpose of it is to help us get comfortable talking about this subject. So it's a celebration. If we were together now, I'd move from tea to champagne. And this is the backstory, just to give you a little taste of how we got to where we are now.
Hi, I'm Cheryl Gale. I'd like to tell you the story behind Brave Voices, a movement that empowers adults who are sexually abused as children to speak up about their experience with strength and confidence. In 1994, I cycled across the USA on what I jokingly called White Lightning, my cheap, very heavy bicycle. As a self-employed single mother, it was a huge leap of faith to take off 2 months of my life to join Break the Cycle, the national ride to stop childhood sexual abuse. I lived in hope that calling attention to this silent epidemic would contribute to preventing further children from becoming sexually abused.
I pedaled that beast of a bike an average of 80 miles a day, 6 days a week. Our 7th day was not a rest day. It was off bike day. We spent it doing laundry, having newspaper, TV, and radio interviews. We had rallies where we shared our stories and listened to others and raised money for Parents United. I was convinced that what I was doing mattered. Every day, people told me their stories of having been sexually abused as children. The extent of the problem became undeniable.
And is also shedding light on why people who say they are child sex abuse survivors may not come forward. And it's prompting many parents to discuss how they can protect their own children.
Metro Nashville has seen an alarming increase in calls to report domestic abuse.
Experts say child sex trafficking has sharply increased during the
Staggering
pandemic.
accusations against the Boy Scouts of America, an attorney who's
The
been looking
Vatican's
into
commitment to protecting children from abuse by priests is being questioned tonight.
Shock and horror coming from the shelter homes in Bihar and UP, where young underage girls were not only sexually abused, but also forced into prostitution.
The epidemic needed national attention. The rude awakening that unless we as a group had financial backing and were professional lobbyists, our voices would not be heard. The crime bill and health reform took priority and won the media's attention. The culmination and excitement of the accomplishment ended in disappointment. A couple months ago, in what we thought would be the middle of COVID, I was invited to cycle across America again. But unlike in 1994, there's internet now. I can work towards stopping the cycle of childhood sexual abuse in my own home. This realization began the brainstorming, mind mapping, information gathering that has resulted in brave voices. Brave voices. Speak, listen, learn, and connect. All right. Well, again, I'd love to hear verbally and or in chat from anyone or everyone as to how you're feeling after hearing that and just where
I'm empowered by your empowerment, your story. It makes me feel like, okay. Yeah. Yeah, that's really energy, helpful energy coming up instead of feeling heavy and defeated.
Thank you, Lena. Yes, it's part of the transformation, not getting stuck in the feelings, but allowing those feelings to guide us to what it is we need. And for me, it's purpose of taking action and making a difference.
And you really are. I'm so touched and moved. Thanks, Cheryl.
Thank you, Tara.
Yeah, and your enthusiasm, and your focus on the positivity and moving forward is so, as Lena said, energy changing. Like I don't have to sit over here. I know that's there, all that negativity and horror, but really I like her, you're role modeling. I can be over there. I can, and I want to. That's where I want to be, in the positivity. And I also sensed your need, the truth of your need as an individual in this world, based on your experience. You need to make a difference. And it helped me say, yeah, I need to also. I felt my need become stronger.
Thank you, Beth. All right. Well, the Brave Voices is 4 pillars, as you can read here. Learning to listen, and to all of the brave voices who have come before us. And there are many. And the website, once it's up and running and live, will have videos of Marilyn Vanderberg, who was a Miss America, originally from Colorado, and so many people who have shown us that we can stand up, we can speak the truth, and thrive. And learning to have these courageous conversations. So once a month, we have a Brave Voices Having Courageous Conversations. And that's where we come together and talk about what is our next step, what is holding us back. And through the nonviolent communication, listening, reflecting, guessing feelings and needs, we love and support each other through that process of wherever we're at on our journey. And then the vital to me part is when people are ready, they have an opportunity to share their story in a 45-minute interview on StoryCorps that is recorded and put on the Brave Voice website, and it's on the StoryCorps website and in the Library of Congress. And so this is showing the epidemic clearly, and it's helping us see what changes that we need to make in order to prevent this from continuing. All right. Well, unfortunately, the statistics predict that 1 out of 3 girls and 1 out of 5 boys will be harmed sexually before the age of 18. If left unchecked, these children will continue to suffer in silence. So just as we join alongside the Black Lives Matter and the Me Too movements to expose and fight against social injustices, we must rise up to break the cycle of childhood sexual abuse. This is in numbers undeniable. And so what I'd love for you to visualize and have in your psyche and to know what is being created is this map. So I'm over here in California, and I'm sorry that it's not too easy to see these lines, but there's a direct line to Texas, where the first interview on the Brave Voice archive StoryCorps recording is with my ex-sister-in-law, who was in the bed when my brother harmed me. They were married at the time. And to me, this is miraculous. Prior to this project, I have had no communication with her for, let's just say 36, 37 years. And I had what I called a courageous conversation and called and asked, my goodness, did you know what happened? And she did not. She too was under the influence of alcohol and drugs. But through our courageous conversation, I learned that she had been harmed by 4 different people in her family, one of which, the first, was her grandfather. She did not ever speak of it prior to this interview. Her daughter was pregnant at 12. Her granddaughter just recently attempted suicide. So her story proves what happens when we do not break the cycle of silence. Another line in the middle of the United States is to Kansas. And that is another ex-sister-in-law, my first brother's second wife. And she was harmed by her own father. And she never shared what happened with anyone as well. So, I make the connection in the story in my mind. What if when Patricia and Katie were in our family, if they would have had the skills to be able to share their stories with each other, would perhaps they all still be married? If my sister-in-law Patricia would have been able to talk to my brother Doug and share? Would my brother Doug have been able to open up and share his experience of having been harmed sexually? Could they have healed together? Perhaps my brother would not have harmed me. So, it's all making up stories, but there's wondering. And what I do know in my core is that if Patricia would have shared, maybe her granddaughter would not have attempted suicide. If Patricia would have shared and her granddaughter would have known, perhaps her granddaughter would have gone to her and said, Grandma, I was harmed too. And this is what happened to me. And Patricia, could have shared, I just don't know, but by silence, this is perpetuated. So all I know is that we have to open up and talk and share and have light shine on this subject in order to break it. Tonight at 7:30, I'm interviewing a woman who's just south of San Francisco, who's written her whole book of watercolors. And she's going to share her story of being harmed. Next Thursday morning, there's a man in Oregon who is going to share his story of being harmed. So it's and the way that this works is I ask everyone who was interviewed to go on and interview 2 other people. And then those 2 people interview 2 other people. And as you can see from the numbers on the right-hand side of the map that Beth wonderfully found, these numbers are just undeniable. We cannot bury our head in the sand when so many human beings are being negatively affected.
Can I interrupt really quickly?
Yes.
So the approximate 199 million are the number of adults in the United States. There's over 300 million people, but those are the number of adults.
Thank you for that clarification.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's what it's all about. This is the Brave Voices Project and movement. So eventually there will be a map that is completely crossed over in every direction and up and down and horizontal. And it will prove the problem, but it will also, we will all be stronger together from that interwoven connection. We do not have to suffer in silence. Oop.
I love that image that you just created, the web creating a strong net. I like that. Thank you.
Yes.
And in thinking about that, I'm realizing if all the lines were there, then a percentage of that map would be practically blacked out.
Yeah. All right. So thank you for listening to all that. and I hope that you have a picture and a vision of what Brave Voices is all about and why it's so important for us to sit in the discomfort until we're comfortable. And now we get to move on to the NVC portion, which is we have feelings. We allow those feelings to guide us to really know what it is that we value and care about and need. So that's what we're going to do today. And we're doing it in the most fun, creative, meditative, relaxing way. And it's by just turning off the brain, dropping into our heart, allowing our intuition to take over. And if we're just picking up a magazine or cards or whatever you have around. The other night, people actually that didn't have magazines got online and found images that way. So whatever works for you. In this one, I just happened to open it up and here is a hand holding all this fruit. That's attractive to me. I'm just going to rip it out and I'm going to rip out any images that that I just make me smile or give me energy or reassure me, make me feel lovely. And don't think about any kind of specific need, just rip, 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 rip. We're going to take 15 minutes to do this process. And it is in silence, and it's internal. And so, we just have a fun time doing it. But prior to that, I'm going to go through a few examples of feelings guiding us to that which we need. Oops. Oops. All right. This image, it doesn't matter, just look at this image. For me, concern, vulnerable, fear, feelings, whatever those feelings are that come up, protection. One possible solution for me to help with those feelings is having connection. When I feel like this, exhaustion, sad, despair, my needs, my longing for, my want for health and well-being and power in my world and equality and dignity and integrity, protection, respect, consideration. When I feel like this, I don't want to get stuck in that muck. I want to feel those feelings for sure. I'm not denying them. I'm not ignoring them. I'm allowing them to guide me to that which I need. And that which I need is going to be different than that which you need or someone else needs. If I'm feeling embarrassment or shame or guilt, my antidote might be to be honest, rather than keeping it down and inside of me. But for someone else, it may be another need. And if I'm feeling guarded and suspicious, I may come to the realization that, oh my gosh, I've got to call my girlfriend Beth. I need some camaraderie. I need some connection. I need a feeling of belonging. How am I going to get those needs met? I need to go out in nature. I need to go get some exercise. I've got to find some hope. How am I going to find some hope? I'm going to call Anne and ask her to do this guided meditation with me and help me process and release this so that I can get to that which I need. And needs for celebration and creativity and joy and play and fun. And when I'm feeling curious and calm and centered and grounded, my needs for meaning and purpose and contribution and learning and growth and joy and bliss. For me, the feelings of fear and sadness and worry about the next generation, my antidote is finding the meaning and the purpose and contributing to the prevention of childhood sexual abuse. So I am a natural protector. And how can I do that in a way that is staying in my own lane and yet helps me feel that I have power in my world. All right, so before we move on to the fun parts, I just love to hear through your voices or through chat any questions you have in combining or allowing our feelings to lead us to get clarity on what it is that we value and long for and care about.
So Cheryl, am I getting it that we're going to be flipping through images and just seeing what our heart catches, of what catches our attention that would help us be in a really challenging conversation and tear or cut those out?
Yeah. So feeling all the different feelings that have been coming up within you since the very beginning of hearing the words childhood sexual abuse, to all of the information that's now inside of you. And so I'm imagining there's so darn many different feelings. There may be hope, there just so many feelings. And just listening to your heart and going through the images and just intuitively ripping out whatever images feel supportive to you. Yeah. And so we're going to, Elena, we definitely have time for 15 minutes rather than 10, don't you think? Can you guide me on that?
I think so. Sorry, let's see. We have just an hour and 5 minutes left. So yeah.
Oh, that's great. 15 minutes. We have plenty of time for 15 minutes I'd like people not to feel rushed in this process, because it, just takes some time to rip them out, enjoy the process.
Would you like me to set a timer?
Sure, please. Thank you. So it's 1 to 4 images, or 1 to 3 images. Let's say 1 to 3 images. If you can't help it and you get 4, okay. And we just rip them out, cut them out, and paste them on a piece of paper. And then we'll come back with the next process after that. So enjoy. And just for your information, there is the list of the 7 core needs. And if you need a cheat sheet, there it is.
We have 10 more minutes. We have 5 more minutes to for working on your soul collage. We're in our last 30 seconds. Looks like we have 50 minutes left, Cheryl.
Thank you. We're stopping 15 minutes before the end. So about 25 minutes for this process. Am I doing the numbers right? Mhm. All right, so come on back when you're ready. Oops. I am not recording this part, so anything that you share is only held with tenderness in between those of us that are here right now.
And I think it is still recording, Cheryl.
Oh, really?
I see a flashing
Oh
red
my
light.
God. It's paused, but